another crazy game for Man City. They just seem to be involved in all these crazy games at the moment. Luca, I'll start with you as someone who's maybe looking from the outside looking in. Yeah, Man City this season, how are they looking for you? I'm guessing clearly not obviously not the same as last season. Like, what do you think is the issue at the moment with Man City?
I don't know, bro. I agree that they're not as strong as they were last year. It's like they're not as dominant. You know what I mean? Like you saw them last year. Even though Arsenal were first for the majority of the season, you could see that City eventually, if they had the chance to pounce on it and surpass Arsenal, they were going to be on it. But this year, I don't know. Maybe it's a mentality thing where they're like resting on their laurels. They're not as hungry as they were because I think it's hard to maintain that hunger after so many years of dominance. They keep wanting to win, keep motivating the players. It's tough. At the same time, for me, I think Arsenal have also fallen off. I don't think they're as good as they were last year. I still think Arsenal are a good team, but I don't think they're as dominant as they were last year. So it's a bit confusing to me. I just think it's a mentality thing. Maybe the hunger's not there. They got stiff today, I can't lie, at the end with the advantage thing. I'm sure you lot have seen that as well. But I think it's a mental thing. Like, also being a Juventus fan, I know, because like we won the league 9 years in a row, and then towards the end of it, you could see like they weren't as hungry as they were like in the middle of it. It's hard to maintain at the top, and I think that could be happening with the City side.
Nah, I think so as well. I mean, the mental to go again 4 times in a row. I don't know how Juventus did it 9 times in a row. To be fair,
Yeah,
um,
and it's the Prem as well. It's even harder. There are so many teams fighting for the league every single year. It's not like in Italy where there's like one other team. Do you know what I mean? So it's even harder.
but you guys did make it like that though, because before that it was like if you had Inter won it like 4 times and Milan won it. So I don't know how you guys did it, but guess you got Conte to thank. Favour, we'll come
Yeah.
on to you. Man City, man. We spoke on it last week. We said a couple of their players ain't looking up to it this season. We mentioned Foden, who scored today. But what's your take on the game, Man City?
I think similar to the conversation we had last time, it's more or less. It feels to me like a normal City thing now, where at the start of the season they're always shaking. Everyone's probably like, "Oh, are they going to actually fall off? It's this and that." And then the final part of the season, they just go on like an 8 game win streak. So I won't really write them off right now, but I think obviously now they're shaky. They're showing that they can actually be beaten. You can take points off them. For example, Tottenham did today, even though, like you said, some decisions are a bit 50-50. But they do look, let's say, less intimidating to teams. I think now teams are more confident in going to have a go at City when, for example, probably past seasons, they probably wouldn't even dream of doing that because you'd get beaten 5-0. But now they have that belief of, okay, cool. Do you know what, City, if we attack them, we might actually get some joy from it. And I think that's what Tottenham did as well. So we'll see at the end of the
Yeah,
season how that goes.
nah, we'll see. There's still a lot of time for City to put it back, and they're only 3 points off the title. Obviously, Louis, me and you were talking in the group chat, and you kind of echo my thoughts. I feel like that City this season aren't looking great. Certain players aren't looking that great. Your take on the game?
Yeah, man. I mean, I've been saying for weeks, I don't think there's one team in this league who I've been blown away by. Um, Arsenal, Liverpool were finding ways to win. I mean, Liverpool, again, prime example of that. But that's what City were doing seasons before, was even when they weren't at the beginning of the season electrifying, they were still winning games. Whereas this season, it kind of seems like when they're off it, they just concede too many goals. There's 10 goals in the last 4 games now they've conceded, which is so unlike City. I know they play beautiful, amazing football, but they've always been solid at the back, especially the past couple of years. Um, yeah, man, I was shocked at how many transitions they were conceding today, especially with that Tottenham back four and midfield. You kind of think City would just get on the ball and dominate the game, which I guess they were doing in the first half. But they just didn't have control. As soon as that second Spurs goal went in, it was just like a basketball game, like it was against Chelsea a couple of weeks ago. And I think that will worry. Has he gone? Oh no, he's here. That will worry Pep far more than the fact that they're not winning. Is the fact that they're conceding so many chances on transitions. And you can see him on the touchline today. He was rubbing his head like he does when he don't know what's going on. So look, man, I think I've said it from the start. I think it's Arsenal's year. I do think it's Arsenal's year. I think you're very boring, but you're very effective. And yes, City are just conceding far too many transitions, whereas I don't see that with you. I think you've always got that in you where you can concede a goal, but you never look like you're going to concede 3 or 4, which City have done a couple of times already this season.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I've been quite negative on Arsenal this season because obviously the standards we set last year going forward, we haven't matched that this season. But yeah, as the games go by, it's starting to look like this is our opportunity now. We're looking very solid. I'll say this title race is kind of reminding me of the Leicester season. I think at the start of that season, Man City were fancied, then Chelsea, but no team could really make much ground at the top. And then all of a sudden, you had Leicester up there at the top. I'm not saying that's going to happen this season, but I think in terms of total points tally, I don't know. I'll be surprised if a team gets 90 points this season. Might be 80 points, low 80s. Very weird. I mean, you've still got obviously Newcastle banging form. Villa lost today, but lost today doesn't mean they're miles out of it.
No, they drew in the end. It was 2-2. It was 2-2.
They drew. Fairs.
Yeah, they drew. They scored in the 91st minute. Yeah.
Yeah. So Bournemouth looking quite good. So Luca, right now, do you agree with what Louis is saying that Arsenal it's probably are the front runners for the title?
Yeah, I think the thing is with Arsenal, right, that I want Arsenal to win the league, and I was almost certain that Arsenal were going to do it last year because they were on top for like 95% of the season. But I just think it's there's not enough winners in the Arsenal team in the sense that there aren't many champions. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? There's like Jesus and Zinchenko have won a lot at City, but like Saliba, for me, rate him so much. Saka, these are amazing players, but they haven't really won the big titles. Do you understand? So it takes time to build. But right now, Arsenal looking good. They're 3 points above City. Obviously, they beat City in their head-to-head, which is important. You need to win these head-to-heads to win the league. I would agree that they're the front runners right now, but I just think it comes down to, at the end of the season, will they learn on the last 2 seasons? Do you understand? Like where they bottled it against Newcastle a few years ago. Last season, obviously, threw away the league. There's no denying that. So it's just about whether they're learning from their mistakes. I think it's more a mental thing with Arsenal and rather than a football, like on the pitch issue. Do you know what I mean? Because I think the football they play is good. It's effective, like Louis said. It's just off the pitch whether they're there mentally to actually win the league. Because you need champions, you need winners in the squad to take you to that league title, to the Champions League, to the big trophies.
Yeah, you're right. It's a quite inexperienced team in terms of winning. Even like we bought Declan Rice, 105 million. Fair play, he's just won the Conference League with West Ham, but he's had his obviously failures with England as well. So you've got a bit of a team that has a bit of a losing streak about it at the moment. Obviously, Saka's been involved in his big losses as well. So now I do agree with that point as well. Favour, how would you rank it in terms of like, first of all, who are the teams going for the league for you? And then second of all, how would you rank it?
I'd say the teams would be City, Arsenal, and Liverpool. I don't know about ranking. I think ranking, I'd still put City to win the league come May. I think similar to what Luca said, when it comes to mentality and that, let's say, final stretch, I think when you look at people like De Bruyne who's done it, Haaland, we can't even like disregard how many goals the guy scores for fun. I think City have, let's say, more experienced in that, let's say, category in comparison to Arsenal. When you look at Liverpool, I think barring anything that happens in the AFCON, they have people like Salah who he can change the game on his own at the end of the day. And I think you look at that Arsenal team, they're full of players who have that, let's say, ability or have really high ceilings. For example, Saka, who's borderline world class. But I think when it comes to that final stretch, do they have that kind of mentality to push through to the final stages? So that's why I still think City will be top for me. And I think Arsenal and Liverpool will challenge. I think Liverpool might fall off a bit because of AFCON and losing Salah. But yeah, I think it would be those three, especially for the league title. But who wins, I'm not too sure. I think it will still go down to the wire, similar to last season. It just depends on who's able to firm that final stretch and who has, let's say, the clutch player to actually win it for them.
Yeah, fair enough. I think we're fairly well in agreement in terms of the teams going for a title. Just a quick one to round up. Louis, obviously, I know you haven't been the biggest fan of Liverpool this season, but that 4-3 win today, surely, I mean, you're having them as serious title runners now.
No, title winners don't concede 3 goals at home to Fulham. Simple as that. Simple as that.
We didn't beat Fulham.
You didn't beat Fulham early on in the season, so it's different. It's different.
But wouldn't you say that although they conceded 3 goals to win it in, let's say, the last 5 minutes or so, wouldn't you say that's still kind of the mentality you need? Especially that's a vital 3 points at the end of the day. It went from, let's say, 0 or 1 point to a full 3 points, which come end of the season might actually be vital.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's a good point, and I agree. And I don't think Liverpool's mentality is ever in question, especially under Klopp. I think they'll always find a way to get results. I mean, even if you look at the back end of last season, it didn't even look like they were going to get Europe in the end, and they put a run together and ended up finishing 5th, getting Europe. That's a trophy that they can go on and win. So their mentality is never in question. I just think it's kind of like how I said City concede too many goals. I think Liverpool concede too many goals, man. I just don't see Arsenal conceding 3 goals, 4 goals in a game, especially this time of the season. And the 4 Liverpool goals as well were incredible, man. I don't think any
Yeah,
other team in the
yeah.
league would have scored those 4 goals in one game. So, look, Anfield kind of has that thing about it where they're never out, which is fine. They could have been 4-0 down today, and I wouldn't have written them out. And even with 5 minutes to go, they're just that type of team in that type of stadium. So I guess they're in the title race. I still don't rate them that highly. But then, as I said, I don't think the other 2 teams have been that great either. Just going back a little bit and touching on that Arsenal inexperience point, I do agree. But the thing for me is, it reminds me of City before they won their first title under Mancini, where they went close a couple of times and they had guys who had gone through a couple of heartaches. They didn't have that many winners. I mean, they had guys like Yaya who had won things before, but they didn't have, the serial winners they have now. And then they took United to the final day and won it on the final day. So to get that experience, you have to be in these situations where you come close before you turn into winners. So I think it's all set up for them. Guys like Saka have gone for it now. Guys like Saliba have got that experience now where they've gone for a bit of pain. So I think you would have learnt more last year bottling the title than you would have winning it, which is why I think Arteta has approached the season the way he has.
And then
Yeah.
that's a question for you as well, Louis. Do you think injuries will play a part as well? Because I think one of the things that Arsenal fans will say compounded to, let's say, their fall off last season would have been the injuries to Saliba, for example. So do you think, like, let's say, I mean, City have been without De Bruyne for so long. Do you think maybe if Saka or Saliba were to get injured against Arsenal, what would be the, let's say,
For
outcome
sure,
of that?
man. They're the 2 that worry me. That's the 2, Saliba and Saka. I think anyone else, and maybe Odegaard as well, but anyone else, I'm not too worried about. I mean, they've got players like Tomiyasu, like Ben White, who can fill in centre back, right back. I mean, they did have Timber, but he got injured as well. So I do worry about the injuries, but it's just one of those things that you just got to deal with it when it happens, man. Like City have got injuries, Liverpool have got injuries, United have got injuries, Chelsea, as you know, have had tons of injuries. It's just something you have to deal with, especially in the modern day Premier League. And that's why clubs spend as much money on they do building squads because they have to. But I think we'll learn a lot about all 3 teams over the next month because this month's the hardest in world football. The Premier League December is rough, man.